Yeah. Only 6 months.
Well, can we start a couple minutes early? Is there any reason not to? We have a forum.
I mean, we have everyone who's said is, yeah. I don't know. You're the chair, Dom.
Applicants here, right? So
They make them run it in the door the
are
last.
you zooming?
I am. We don't currently have an audience.
All right, well, we can watch the clock for another 2 minutes. So,
Oh, actually, I see one of our town interns is watching. So
oh,
hi, Boaz. He's probably gonna come to the next one live. He's trying to come to all the different town meetings.
A voting student?
Yeah, he's a voting student. $6:29 by my clock.
I'm gonna start. Promptly at 6:29. Could you please take all of the planning board for Topsham? Could you please take the roll?
John Span,
Present.
Harry Bigford,
She is excused.
Ronald Bisson,
Present.
Mary Brand,
Present.
Dan Flagg,
Present.
Scott Libby,
Present.
Joshua Spooner.
He's absent. I haven't heard from him.
So Joshua and Haley are absent, everyone else is here.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have the approval of the June 23rd, 2022 minutes, which I was recused from. So Scott, you want to just run this one?
Sure. I did not send the comments in. Did anyone send comments in?
No, I
No,
didn't get it.
I had a couple.
Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve them as written. I think. Comments first. Oh, yeah, okay.
Then you can say the motion with comments.
Motion. Yeah, okay. So Josh was not a. Not a- Wait, you were listening. So that was good. Oh,
Thank you.
and, on the fourth paragraph down on page 2, says that it was noted that the panels are 10 feet high, which meets the definition of a large solar system. It's correct.
What would you like it to be changed to?
I think just to either say they'll be 10 feet high,
Okay,
or that the solar size of the solar system. Solar system.
Well, you could say solar panel
Solar
facility.
panel, facility is large, but that has nothing to do with it. So I would just say.
Thank you.
Just be careful.
okay,
The next, the fifth paragraph down, third line from the bottom says, ask for an explanation of who will lay down the area, just how to lay down.
I don't know who. Sorry.
That was me, so I should have sent these to you earlier.
That's okay.
And then in the last one, and this is more for us to discuss, it says, this is what we voted on. It says that the town hire at the applicant's expense a qualified professional engineer's estimate in regard. And I think it really, between engineer and estimate, needs to say to review the applicant's decommissioning plan and ensure it meets town needs and objectives.
You have that on there, right? So you can give it to me.
Oh, good.
But I'm not sure you can read it. Take a look. I don't get other.
No, I didn't receive any.
I'll make the motion to accept them as I modified. I'll second that motion. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Abstained.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
All right. So we have item D, sketch plan, 57 Recycling Drive LLC has submitted proposed 20,585 square foot commercial building at 120 Old Lisbon Road, tax map R02, lot 74. So this is a sketch review. There were some questions on PCDs because this original project was approved in 2013. So he's indicated he's going to help re-educate us on that, exactly what that entails. There are going to be some waivers. And then I think the other thing that I got out of the discussion is the lot that's on the plan that was to be conveyed has been conveyed, and that's lot 3, which is where this is going. And right now, there is nothing on lot 2, or is there any plan there?
There is.
Okay, but we are not bringing it forward. So, okay. All right, so sir, if you could identify yourself and present the project.
My name is Mike Gatto. I'm here tonight to represent 57 Recycle Drive LLC in this project. And if you want, I can go back and give you some history, some simple background on the history of the site, which has been extensive over the years. I think it might be good to look at the file for the approvals, the original approvals from 13.
Sure.
C4, I think it is.
Yep.
That one's.
This
good.
one, yep. Sure, I'll just zoom into that.
So in 2000, the town approved the building on lot 1 for coastal metal path. That approval also included a DEP permit for stormwater. In 2013, shortly after my client purchased the property, I came in and split the lot into 2 lots. Lot 1 including the coastal metal fab site, and lot 2 being the remaining land with an access road running from Lisbon Road to the former Maine Central Railroad location. We were headed towards getting access to Grimmel Industries, which is down along the river, which their sole access was through Jepscott Village Main Street. And that had caused a lot of problems in the town over the years. So we got this project approved as the first step with the gravel pad that you see at the corner of your property, where we were going to park the Grimmel vehicles and containers so that we could operate 24/7, where Jepscott Village Main Street was controlled access only from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And at the time we got this approval, we also designed the stormwater pond for that gravel pad, as well as a building across the road from the gravel pad on what is now lot 3 that we're looking for approvals tonight. So we got approvals for this back in 2013.
So can you slide that over and just show that?
Yeah.
So it's across the road from.
Across the road where the detention pond is down by the railroad tracks. And that approval included, like I said, the gravel pad from the town, a sloter approval from the town, and we got a DEP permit for 8,083 square feet of wetland, all done in 2013. Shortly after getting those approvals, we began working on the lower access road. And if you could go to the file that says, it's the last file in the folder that says
Rail cover?
Yeah, rail cover. So if you look at this up in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see lot 1, and you're going to see our access road coming in. And that top parcel is the FCM property that was done in 13. And in their ultimate wisdom, DEP said if we were going to run an access road from there, the railroad tracks down to the Grimmel Industry site, we were going to be a common scheme of development, and we would have to file for a Site Location Development Act permit. And because it was over 7 acres, it was something that had to be processed at the DEP level. So after working with them from 13 to 14, in the fall of 14, we filed a permit to actually convert the gravel pad that we had gotten approved on 13, which is shown here as a 56,000 square foot building. Yeah, right there, yeah. And we got the lower access road approved, and we had proposed a rail to truck transfer facility down along the river. Shortly after submitting, DEP didn't like the stormwater control system down by the recycling facility. So we withdrew that application from DEP, and DEP in May of 2015 improved the 56,000 square foot building and the access road going down to Grimmel Industry. We submitted application to the town, and since it took DEP nearly a year to do this, the need for the recycle building that we were going to do at 56,000 square feet went away because he was able to buy one in Lewiston, and we only asked the town to approve the lower access road. So in quick summary, the only thing the town has approved is the FCM site with lot 1 being occupied by Coastal Fab, and the access road going down through. Our application for the gravel pad, storage pad, has now expired, as well as we never got approvals for the 56,000
The
square foot.
road,
The road has been built.
Recycle Drive has never been completed.
Recycle Drive has been completed. Construction started in 15.
Okay, but I'm trying to get, does Recycle Drive go all the way down?
Yes, goes all the way down. It was built over 3 sections from Lisbon Road all the way down to Grimmel Industry.
So Grimmel is using that instead of,
Ever since 2020, I believe, it might have been 2019, I think it's 2020. All truck access to Pajevskit Main Street has been gated, and all recycling trucks going down to the facility have been using Recycle Drive. Recycle Drive is gated up next to the Coastal Metal Fab building, and it's closed at night to public traffic. It's a private drive, but it has been constructed and it has been used now since 2020. And town monitored all of the construction. Town monitored all the construction of the stormwater improvements. So we have stormwater improvements on the FCM site that would support the 56,000 plus the building we're looking at tonight. And we have stormwater improvements at the bottom of the lower access road down by the Grimmel lease that supports that road construction.
so right now we're talking about that lot that was conveyed, which is.
We're talking about just the corner right there where she has a cursor. We're talking about just that corner, and we're talking about putting a 20,000 square foot, 558 square, 20,585 square foot building on about 4.2 acres, 25 parking spaces, 4 loading docks, and 2 drive-in doors. It's designed as a multi-tenant building for multiple uses, with the idea that could be 2 tenants or it could be 1 tenant using the whole building. It's Murex building. I provided you with the plans. The Murex building is very plain, flat roof building. We're looking to get that project approved. And if everything goes well, I've been authorized to start projects on 2 other sites out here over the next year or so that we can continue to develop this industrial park. This industrial park, there's 246 acres between the 2 properties. 20 acres in the FCM site, 225 acres in the remaining property of Pajevskit Industrial Park. Owns everything from the railroad track to the river. Again, it's common scheme of development, so everything we do is going to require DEP amendment or DEP approval. The idea, we had talked over the years with an abutter about buying some of the land and using it for access to his facilities. That has not happened, and so now we're proceeding forward with an industrial park development. There is no public water or sewer here, so everything is going to have a septic system and drilled wells. So it's going to be a particular use of small employee numbers, no water processing type businesses that are likely going to go into this park. This is probably going to be developed by the Grimmel family, buildings retained and all leased. It's likely what's going to happen over time period. So in 13, you approved this as a planned commercial development, so we could avoid some of the large setbacks you have in your ordinance from the road, setbacks from the roads and stuff like this, because there are wetlands and forested areas and streams and ranges that we were trying to develop the upland areas that are close to the road or wherever the buildings fit best.
So the PCD approval included lots 1 and 2 and the lot to be conveyed.
Yes, but it did not include anything in the Pajevsky Industrial Park ownership. That's 225.
So it's really that little.
We would come in and
Not
ask
so
you.
little, but
Yeah, it's about 21 acres in total on the FCM site.
all that.
Yes, I was just trying to figure out what this line was. It's like, I was trying to get turned around. It's Route 196.
That's 196. Yeah. I was trying, when you said that, I said, what is that? 196 or River Road? It's 196.
So it's 196.
It's 196, but I'm used to looking at
Yeah.
a different angle, and it was like, okay.
And through the middle of the site is the former Central Maine Railroad tracks. And those tracks are still active, although they're owned by the state of Maine.
Yeah.
We do ship recycling facility, from the recycling facility. We have a little locomotive down there that we trolley the cars up towards the town line. And we do ship on that rail when the market, local United States market is better than the overseas market for recycled materials. Right now.
That hasn't happened in a while.
They said, I can't remember, they said maybe a couple of years ago, they
Yeah,
shipped some stuff
5 years
locally.
ago or something.
Yeah.
So it hasn't happened much,
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, it has to be at least
Yeah,
2
yeah.
years anyway.
yeah. When I was working actively in the 09 to 15 period here, they hadn't shipped anything. But we were keeping the trail active so that it could be shipped to the United States market when possible. And there may be specific products that might ship, and the rest of it will go overseas. So they have a pretty sophisticated separation operation down there, so they were able to break it into multiple different products. Some go to landfills, most is recycled. So if you want to go to the site plan, we can talk a little bit about the project where be the
first.
summit plan.
Oh, yeah, I can just open it
Right,
from
right
your
there,
drive. Yeah.
So basically, we have coming down Recycle Drive, we have, first thing you would come to on the right would be the parking area for the employees with 2 drive-in doors at an upper level. Then we have a road that circles down around the back to 4 loading docks. And again, it's designed to be 2 tenants. And it's designed so the trucks will come in on the upper level and leave at the lower level. So they'll circulate back into the loading docks and then leave go out of the site. Not proposing any site lighting except lighting on the building. There is no street lighting proposed. So
if you would orient everybody.
Yeah.
Where 196 is.
196 is to the left, out of the site. Railroad tracks that butt us, we butt the railroad.
I
Yeah.
just wanted everybody to understand.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah. There is an easement on the plan for the detention pond, which is shared by the remainder of lot 2. And the road is treated in that pond. And that pond, like I said, was designed for a building of similar size. What I'm proposing here is about 8,000 square feet of total impervious, more than what was designed for this part of the lot. And what I'm talking with Tom Socher about is allowing this to get built because there's nothing on lot 2 that was designed as well. Waiting, and when we do the building on lot 2, we'll make sure it's equal, or we'll modify the pond if it needs to be modified at that time. Obviously, you folks are going to hear that from them, and that'll come down to his final review comments. We have sent an email off to DEP asking for the town to do the Sloter modification and stormwater approvals. We've given an escrow check to the town so that Tom Socher could be on board. We walked the site earlier this week. That's the short story. We are looking at waivers, and when you're ready, we can talk about that. And I gave you-
Go back to the aerial. I guess. Right, so again, 196 is over here.
Yep.
It says lot 2, but
And
it's really
that is-
lot 3.
Yeah, that was the 2015 plan that was submitted.
Right.
So that's why it says lot 2.
Right, so that's, yeah, you're right, that is lot 3.
Yeah, that's lot 3 where it says lot 2. Correct.
But
Sorry about that, but yes.
I guess what I was. Like, I guess proximity to any residential.
Closest resident is below where it says new building, out right there. Oh, no, it's up closer to the property, right there. Stevens property. And when we did the approvals for the first 2013, we left a buffer. I'm pretty certain it's 100 feet buffer for him. And I spoke with him several times back then when we did that. I haven't spoken with him on this application because it's on the opposite side of the street. So that's the only residential. We have a gravel pit owned by Crooker to the north and Stevens to the south.
In villages.
The village is down at the bottom of the sheet. Yeah, right down there with we own land all to the left, yeah. We own, yeah, right there. We own land all around the village.
I guess, anyone have questions before we talk about the waivers?
I have just a few plain commercial development. So this was approved in, lot 1 and 2 was approved in 2013.
Turkey.
That's expired, so we're kind of starting over.
It's my understanding the development had expired, but the planned commercial development approval is still valid.
Okay.
That's my understanding, but again, I'll leave that to you folks. That's what Rod says.
So with the planned commercial development, there's a couple things. I went back and looked at the ordinance. It's not as robust as the ordinance that we have for the planned mixed-use development, which requires a master plan, site inventory, and all that sort of thing. So you had mentioned kind of expanding the planned use development onto the old mill property at some point in the near future. Is there a plan to maybe think through a master plan, up with a long-range vision for that property that would include the access road and all that sort of thing?
We have a couple of plans that I had done over the years to talk with the abutters and with the town. Because at one point we were talking about making this an industrial park and going through a town approval for it. And we have Recycle Drive and we had one other road coming off from it. And I had estimated how many, and I'm sorry, I didn't bring that tonight. I had estimated how many buildings could be put on the property, how many square feet, that type of stuff, so that we could look at multiple factors of the development. We never moved that forward. Okay, so we had not master planned it again, but I can tell you that of the 225 acres, a large portion of it is going to remain undeveloped because of streams and other things. You got streams and setbacks and stuff like that we talked about in 15 that are going to prevent a lot of the area from being used.
Yeah, there's a lot of constraints out there.
Yeah, and that's why we're trying to stay with the planned commercial development with the idea of reduced setbacks in the front.
Now, with a planned commercial development, and this may be more of a discussion for us in the workshop, but I looked at the specific requires public water and sewer, although the language does allow subsurface disposal systems for sewer, but it doesn't appear to me, based on reading it, that it opens up the door to just have real drives. Now, it may have been approved that way, but it's something that we should probably take a look at.
Yeah, it's not something that's been mentioned before.
Maybe just clean up that ordinance language, if we want to allow that.
Yeah, it's cost prohibitive
Right.
to bring water to this site, so we have been encouraged to pursue this.
Yeah.
As this type of.
I guess what I'm saying is the language for the water should be consistent with what we have in there for the sewer.
Yeah.
Which allows the avenue that if it's cost prohibitive to extend public water.
Yeah.
So that's it's kind of a housekeeping thing that maybe we should take up at some point. For the next time.
But I think two things. One is, I guess we need to confirm that PCD does carry forward and doesn't. That there's no issue with us allowing us to stay under the PCD, right? I think that's the first consider discussion. But I hate to bring up dead end roads, right? But where we have with dead end roads where it was impossible to. Dead end roads. We've actually been able to probably what we have. That's without the ordinance. We're instead of using public order. We'll need some help with that.
Yeah, we
With the
will,
wording it and so forth.
yeah, we'll work with you whatever way we can if you want our help. We are going to have 2 dead ends on this project, and with the quarry on the south end, and if you go back to the aerial photo. If you stand down, yeah, keep going down. You see our property abuts a quarry that's like 90 feet deep. Okay, so without connectivity to the abutter, which doesn't appear to be happening after multiple tries.
No, I understand that.
Yeah, and so we're stuck with 2 dead end roads likely. I can go to the screen and show you roughly where the other road would go. But it will go along parallel, curvilinear fashion, but parallel to the track to the center of the property.
I just think we need to have.
Yeah.
things checked, right?
Yeah.
And whether it's the water, the roads, including all those things that may play into this.
Yeah, and again, I don't think the ordinance specifically requires the master plan. But certainly think, given the fact that there's a lot of land there, I know there's constraints, but thinking through the bigger picture of how your client envisions building it out, how much traffic, uses, all that's going to play into DOT permitting and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, no, fully aware of that. I had approached this with Rod initially and Tom, and then Kate. With this one was approved, we were gonna look at this one first, get this one with the 2 buildings in it, and then work at the other one, and we'd probably end up with a master plan on that one. But because they're 2 identities, Jeffskin Industrial Park owns everything to the river side of the tracks, and FCM owns everything to the other side. We were pursuing this as, now, I do have, if you pull up the grading, we showed the building and we showed the gravel pad on the FCM site. And if you put the grading plan, if you put that on the screen, you can see the building that we're talking about. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. You can see that we had proposed the building back in 15. So it wasn't master plan, but it was thought out, and the stormwater was built for it, and the traffic was designed for it. Plus the movement of the traffic from Jacksonville Village Main Street to Recycle Drive from Grimmel's.
I would note that staff did ask that we address traffic impact, including anticipate traffic impact.
Yeah,
So that is something that we're gonna, I just made a note here, I just said I agree.
yeah, I looked at that today. So I had talked with the traffic engineer already, same traffic engineer that's been working on the site with me. And they'll give me a simple assessment. We're not approaching the trips that were previously booked, but we'll document that.
my only other question is on the building itself.
Why don't we wait and come back to the building, don't forget that. Got anything?
Just to follow up on the traffic, so on the 2013 approval, we didn't deal with traffic.
Yes, we had a traffic assessment with the driveway, for the driveway, and the fact that we were moving potentially trips into it.
But we also noted that a further, more in-depth traffic analysis needs to be done once the property got built out. In 2015.
We did the traffic assessment then.
You can help us dust that off.
Yeah, no, I dusted it off in the last couple of
Maybe
days.
your traffic engineer can help walk
Yeah,
us through
yeah,
that.
can walk you through it, yeah.
And the stormwater system is down to the southwest. That was built or? was
Is
not?
built.
It is built.
Yeah, it had to be built with the road improvements.
Improvements. And then there's also a stormwater system that's built up near down east.
There's a couple of ponds up there that were modified, that were originally done and modified, and there's a stormwater buffer up at the top. Yeah, this section from Downeaster down is in the wet pond watershed, and Downeaster and parts of the road are in the buffer up above, as well as a couple of small ponds in the Downeaster lot that were approved in 2000.
And with just the road, obviously, it's not getting the runoff that was
Correct.
engineered for, but has it had its 5-year check? And did it? How did it?
Since construction, I think we're there.
There.
Okay, I think we're there, but I thought we did one check, and I have to look at the records on that. This pond was designed for 4.35 acres of impervious area. There's only 38,000 square feet of road in it now. And we're gonna, when we're done with this project, there'll be 2.26 acres, so there'll be a balance left for the project on the other side of the road.
Which is three for your comment. Reevaluate again for that.
Yeah, that's what I've done in other towns. If you want us to reevaluate it now, but it might change, it's designed for a certain amount in the watershed. And I think we can make it work. And Tom seemed comfortable, but he wanted time to look at it. And I sent him the stuff early in the week.
I mean, I would assume that it's worked great for the amount that's going there now. But if it is close to the 5-year, it'd be good to just
Yeah,
be able to state that.
yeah,
If there's any issues with erosion at this point, obviously it'd be more later.
Tom inspected it on Tuesday, but he didn't make any comments about that.
Right, I made a note on that one, where it talks about the stormwater flow, where I thought we need to have a peer review, so yes.
Yeah, and we've got Tom's under contract to do that, I believe, at this point.
Yep, he did a site visit on Tuesday and we're waiting on the DEP correspondence, but he will be doing the delegated review.
We've also filed a wetland permit already to do an additional 1,415 square feet, which will bring the total wetland impacts on the combined properties to 11,398 square feet. So we're still a tier 1 at this point. So we're monitoring that stuff as we go through it.
So we have the building still, yes.
Yeah, my other stuff is just really start talking about the way it was.
So anything on essentially the lot, and we'll talk about the building.
So I'm just trying to get a clarification of what part of this whole big area of land was approved for the commercial development. The whole thing?
Just this piece,
Just this piece.
just this one piece of 20 acres.
That,
It's this outlined piece, right, Mike?
Just that outline.
Yeah, it's lot 1 and 2, but there is another plan.
Okay,
Yeah, there is the,
Right here.
Ron signed it.
is it the sheet C4, Mike?
Here's the.
C4, yes. Not the grading, that's the
That's
grading.
great. I have it in the other
So
tab.
this is what's there.
Right.
Yep. This is yet to be developed.
It's just a big file. All right,
Right, that's
hold
the
on,
double.
files.
This is
Lot 3.
the one we just,
And that's the only part of this.
and that's the only part of it right now. And this actually shows a little bit cleaner, but that's what we're talking about.
Right.
And that's when I try to orient it.
I think you just had it. didn't you?
Yeah,
When I said here, right? So,
I've actually been down these second floor.
okay.
Yeah, so there's the,
Familiar with it.
yeah, there's the plain commercial development that was approved right there. So setbacks on both sides of recycle drives were installed at that time. And really, the only thing that was approved with the plain commercial development, because no buildings were proposed, was the setback reductions and the gravel pad. So, I mean, we really didn't talk about buildings at the time. We didn't have any buildings.
You can show, I think you can show, point out the retention ponds we're talking about.
Yeah.
this
Right
one.
there, right there.
And then the ones up top.
I've another one up here, right?
Yeah,
Mike?
there's one there, and then there's one up by the road.
Here.
Right there.
Yep.
And then there's buffers which don't show up well on this plan. There's buffers off the end of the building, and there's buffers along the north side of the road, on Cycle Drive. Nano buffers that have grown in yet, because we
I'm good for the home.
So I guess the top building needs a waiver. Bring up the building. Take single story,
What's that?
single story.
Single story, it could have a mezzanine in it, because it'll be tall. It's a tall building.
All right, Mike, I'm just trying to bring up.
It is labeled, I think right there, stamp set. Yeah,
Yep,
you have to
okay.
scan down through. Yep, keep going. Okay, those are the
Oh, okay.
elevations. Is that the elevations you want to see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's kind of a flexible use in terms of
Flexible use, industrial, probably most likely industrial.
some sort of industrial use, doesn't look like the inside of the buildings, partition.
No, I think we put 2 bathrooms in it, but I think that's, yeah.
I know it's an industrial area, obviously, but if you thought you, instead of a flat roof, a pitch roof like the Dempster building.
No. 30-year rubber roof on the Murox buildings that they're proposing to do is less maintenance and less problems. So this developer has chose that Murox type style building. It's better insulated, and the flat roof, 30-year rubber roof is something that's been, his best friend has projects in Lewiston, and he has 25 or so buildings that maintenance is very minimal.
So it's a prefabricated type.
It's a prefabricated, it comes in panels. So this building will go up in, all walls will go up with door, windows, openings all there. They'll go up in 2 or 3 days. So it's a panelized building. The structure is within the panels, and then the roof ties to the panels. If you go down a few more sheets, you might get a sense of that from the Murox plans that are in there.
And what was that height?
Can't read, can you zoom in on this?
Yeah. 28 feet, is it?
28.
Yeah. 28.
So you can see, I think this is a Murox plan. You can see the 10-foot panels, and every now and then there's cross bracing, depending on what wall it's on and so on and so forth. Since this was well off of 196, where these buildings are going, and since it was going into this private lot, we chose to go with the more efficient building than adding pitches and the other stuff.
And the commercial standard buildings don't require pitch roof funds.
Not in the industrial zone.
Okay,
The architectural design standards do not apply to this district.
right, okay. And I'm assuming because there's no, I didn't see partition walls, so the building is being designed as an open concept, and then you can kind of customize the interior based on the
Yeah.
tenant that you guys get.
Yeah, what happens is they'll build the outside shell, and they may or may not pour the slab inside. All the windows, doors, everything will be there. Plumbing will be pumped up to the floor. And once they get the first tenant, then they'll finish the floor off and build it from there. And the tenant in Lewiston, the person in Lewiston that does a lot of these buildings, he's modified those buildings multiple times and had 50,000 square foot buildings occupied by 5, 6 tenants, and then take the partition walls out in one time. So it's quite flexible because clear span for the most part.
Lewiston has an industrial park similar to this. concept,
This Lewiston's industrial park, this is modeled after that.
right?
Gender and Drive.
All right. Go ahead with the waiver discussion.
Well, the waivers come down to your additional standards for lighting, landscaping, and the general parking. We're not necessarily following in our design many of those for, it's section 175-9, additional lighting, section 175-10, additional landscaping, and section 175-12, general parking. We have parking on side, not in the back. There's just a lot of those standards. And as I looked through it over the last couple of days, I was looking to waive the landscaping standards, looking to waive the general parking standards, and looking to waive most of the lighting except for item A, which has 6 criteria. But that's what I'm looking for from my client. That's fully in your, I wanted to talk with you before I worked on drafting the waiver request.
Yeah, it would be good to know exactly why we have these requested. That on some of these, the full, especially 10 and 12, the full section does not apply to the industrial zone. It's pretty limited what does apply to the industrial zone for a good reason, because we don't.
And that's, I wasn't sure,
Yeah,
okay?
I don't think the side parking is.
Yeah. Okay, Yeah.
From reading that one, the only thing I could think of that you might not want is a bike rack.
yeah, pedestrian,
Which, you know.
well, there was
bike
stuff,
rack might be good.
yeah, well,
People
but
might go over there, gas is expensive.
Have you seen some of the bike racks that,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
well, some of them are just rusted out. But they're in place.
yeah,
But I don't, I would read them closely, because I don't think there's a lot in that one that it pertains to industrial uses.
in which one?
In 175-12.
Yeah, 12, the
Parking.
only one I picked in 12 was, no, I picked none, actually, no, it was in 10. I picked one.
And in landscape, it's just A and B, I think, that apply. So that's pretty limited too, but it's,
On the
my
land,
view on waivers, it's better rather than waive the whole thing, waive part of it.
yeah, I was waiving on landscaping, everything but F3, which deals with residential buffers. And again, I was looking for guidance from you folks. It's your town, I respect that. But-
You do look at it, C. Not continue, it says specifically, street trees are installed in buildings, BCLI, BPF. So industrial.
Here, yeah. Does not apply to the rural commercial use and.
Last part of the
So then if it's not applicable, it's not applicable.
So that was fine. And D, I think D is just talking about the size of the trees. So more like-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, you don't have to put in a street tree, you don't have to worry about the size of it. And then E says somewhere in here too. Sure, circle or something. Like,
It's just numbering all of the stuff, but you think that does not apply to the industrial?
It says planting setback requirements for commercial corridor, limited industrial, mixed use commercial, and rural commercial use, so not industrial.
So it doesn't call it out.
Right.
I apologize, I'm not familiar with
No,
Rod.
that's fine.
I started with Rod and he said, waive them all. Okay, so- Fast.
Okay.
Then he left and gave it to me, so.
Yeah, it was within a couple of weeks, I think.
Waive them all, Kate will deal with it.
No, but to his point, to the extent you don't have to waiver it, because it's not a requirement.
Okay,
Yeah.
But if
I will look at it
If
closer.
there's something specific in any of those, you do believe you need to waiver, then obviously we'll need to review the case.
Yeah, I think you already said it, but under F3, I don't think we waived that, but not that you even need it for this one.
We don't need it for this one.
If ordinance, BCD.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and again, I don't know that Rod might have been thinking ahead on the whole project being combined or not, but I took his guidance and I had put it in my cover letter and then started talking with Kate. So that,
I'll skip my last question.
Well, any questions or comments on where? So with your last question,
Okay, this one's not really a waiver, but I'm wondering about the language towards the end about the condition of approval. When trucks will let drive.
the parking lot was never built, so it doesn't apply. And
But you're bringing trucks into this facility, and the reasoning for putting that in is still the same. So, yeah, lot 3 was not a separate lot when we approved the parking lot, as part of lot 2.
that is correct.
And when we approved that, we approved no trucks left idling for multiple reasons.
Because
Noise
we-
and pollution, and that's what those trucks are being brought in. And you're clearly bringing trucks into this facility. So all I'm saying is, what is the reason we should waive it? And at the same time, why are you asking us to waive it?
I'm not
Because
asking
you're
for,
going to have trucks idling for more than an hour? That's-
I'm not asking for it to be waived. I made an argument in my cover letter that it's not applicable. That criteria was added as, I understood the means, because we were proposing the parking lot and we were gonna operate 24/7 out of that parking lot. It wasn't because of the access road going down to Grimmel. We never built that parking lot. We never idled trucks there. We never parked trucks there. We're just driving down Recycle Drive to access the Grimmel project where all the trucks are parked down at the bottom of the hill now, and all the containers are down there. So as I understood that condition of approval when it was approved in 13, it dealt with that parking lot because we were gonna use that from 2013 through building the road to get down to the bottom of the hill, and it was never built. So again,
But my point is that though that parking lot may not be used.
Yep.
And you put a building in there, there was a reason to not have, not just that trucks are used there, but not to have trucks idling for hours on end in this area. So it's something to be discussed.
yeah, no, and again, if you want to have that restriction on this one and continue on the property, that's up to you folks. And I'm not gonna argue the point other than as long as it's worded similarly, but when I looked at it, knowing what I thought we were talking about at the time, we didn't build a parking lot, so I didn't consider it applicable, but if you feel it's necessary in these types of projects, then yes.
I kind of lean towards, it sounds like
Yeah.
a reasonable
Yeah.
condition.
Yeah.
I think that we probably want to carry it forward.
Yeah.
That's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, and I think, I should come back for site plan.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. I think a couple board members missing tonight, so we'll probably have to revisit this again. I will.
Okay, that's fine.
But I think, taking a look at the original conditions of approval, compare them to the new application to see if any of them are relevant. That's what I want. I think that's something we should discuss at some point.
And if that's the case, then they're all relevant. Okay, because I looked through them myself after encouragement from Tom at one of the last meetings, look at it, and he asked me about that one. And I said, well, I don't think it's applicable, and that's why I wrote the letter the way I did. If the board feels it's applicable, then all of the conditions that applied back then would be, I think, applicable. I'll look at it again, but
So I think we go down that
Yeah,
path, right?
yeah.
Somebody you want to bring one of them back up.
no, I'll look at it with a different eye.
Okay. good. Anything else?
So is Recycle Drive going to remain gated?
Yes,
So even with this new building, it would still be gated before you get to the building?
yep, it's gated,
Gated pretty close to.
After the county. right?
Yeah, right after Down East, you go in the first 600 feet of roadway potentially, and there's a turnaround,
Yeah.
which was supposed to be a driveway to one water. There's a gate right after that turnaround, and it's gonna be gated, unless it, again, there was conversation, and I don't know what the future's gonna bring. There was conversation about TIF districts and bringing public water and sewer to this location. We talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And at this point, we're moving forward, and it will be gated and it will be a private road. That's another reason why I'm looking for the waivers. This is a private road, a private development.
I think the gated, again, as part of the overall, that's the different experience by the village. Or the reason I would again lean towards that staying away too.
And you brought up the dead end road. But is dead end road an issue if it's private? It is. It's only once, if you want it conveyed to become a public road. My understanding, I don't know.
It's been
I don't
a
know.
long time since I've looked at
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'll be honest, I'd have to read it again, but
That might be worth looking.
yeah, I'll-
Double check connectivity.
Well, the number one project that's gonna kill it is if I'm required to have public water for this building, then this project's dead. So there's no need.
And see, I really brought up those
Yeah,
because of, as the way we were able to build the case for, if it's not something that can actually physically be done, right? We can't hold you to do it. It almost sounds like having public water for this is something that's really not possible.
it's millions and millions and millions.
That's, I think, the only way without having to go to town meeting and passing, we could maybe approve it. If it's in the ordinance, otherwise, we want to change the ordinance, go to town meeting.
And if it's gonna take a change in ordinance, then I need to go look someplace
Yeah,
else to put our building.
No, I agree, that's why we can look at it.
Yeah, I mean,
Figure that out,
I
right?
think it's certainly, I mean, that was my interpretation when I read it.
Yeah.
I encourage everyone to look at it.
Yep.
And it may be something that the language needs to be adjusted, or maybe we can, I don't know.
It's the first I heard that was a showstopper. Because we wouldn't have gone this far. That doesn't
I would
matter,
say it may be a showstopper.
but yeah.
We need to look at that.
Yeah.
I do know that we've approved when it comes to connectivity, right? Where it just isn't, there's no way for it to connect. right?
Yep.
You can't hold someone to say that they have to connect if they can't. right? And so we have been able to approve those. Based on that same logic, I think we might be able to approve the water, public water, but we need some help.
Yep.
With the appropriate wording as well as the review of ordinances to make sure that.
I can work with staff.
yeah,
It
we
would
did,
seem
yeah.
Reasonable because the way I read it, it does open the door to sewer extensions. Private language is consistent with sewer. water sections.
But that is the ordinance change, so we need to dot our i's and cross our t's.
Well,
Well, I
maybe
honestly,
interpretation.
that's the way I was thinking too, right?
Mhm.
But besides the fact, I didn't think they had any real access to water.
He had a pumping station.
It has been priced.
Yeah.
There is knowledge, there are folks in town, and I just don't remember the number, but it was massive.
Yeah.
But combined properties, ours with others, it could have happened. But it hasn't moved.
Based on the size of a
Yeah.
project, this in
Yeah.
fact makes sense.
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, the economic development director was all over us about that. John, I worked with John for years on that, those discussions. It just,
Yeah, the water could be potentially feasible technically, but governments. That's-
Yeah.
That's way, that's.
Okay, anything else from the board? Right, you have anything else for us?
I guess I will work out with staff whether any one of those are something we can't resolve for you. And if they are something we can resolve, I will probably be back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn, you want to?
Yeah, let me pull it up too. if I have it.
Well. No, we don't, yeah, we don't need any more. Typically, we don't do any motion.
Okay, this is more of an informal planning board concept plan. I pulled it up, but I also have look at it. You might. So this is the final concept plan for the Aroma Joe's off-site improvements on Second Street as required by their traffic movement permit. I believe Rod showed you an earlier version of this where the sidewalk was on this side of the street. But please let me know if that's not correct.
So I guess, not as
yeah.
clear, but as, because I have refused from all the Aroma Joe stuff. But the property is since closed, it's basically in the MDOT cycle, if it's this board's, which I have your
But they
approval.
came in front of us, told us that they wanted to put the sidewalk on the same side as the sidewalk.
Right, so I was gonna try to help explain some of that, if it's okay for this board for me to speak.
Did we adjourn? It was still a
No,
public
we're still public, that's, I wanted to be public.
Yeah, and I'm happy to explain as well, whatever you all prefer.
I have no objection to speaking.
All right. Does anyone- At this point, I don't even know that I have to recuse from discussion, but I was recused for the entire project, so I don't want anybody to feel.
It's no board decision, so.
Okay?
Let me thank you, Pete.
My understanding, and I wasn't in all the meetings, that's why I think between Kate and I, we can probably answer a good percentage, but my understanding is that there was a sidewalk, there's been a couple, I'll call them sidewalks, kind of the construction project walks that Rod talks to us about that they do when they go look at the properties. And what had, and then there was another one, I think, with the abutters, right? But that didn't include the Aroma Joe people. But that being said, in one of those discussions with the peer review that got Tom involved in pretty much all these discussions and reviews, they came back and indicated that they preferred that the sidewalk that had gone straight from Aroma Joe's on the Aroma Joe side of the street, right, get moved over to the other side of the street, right? And so that's pretty much the reason that happened. I don't know all the facts. I do know the town manager had indicated that they thought there might be some drainage issues on the other side of the street. I also think some of the butters asked if it could go on the other side instead of across in front of their properties, okay? So that was basically repriced and relayed out and all that stuff, right? And so that's how it ended over on the other side, going down to Monday Way. The other thing I wanted to point out is in that same sidewalk, if I understand correctly, after they got to looking at all the measurements and so forth, they determined that the 8-foot sidewalk, which I think was 8 foot, they were told they needed to have, it was recommended that they reduce it. And so they actually ended up, I think, with a 6-foot sidewalk instead of an 8-foot sidewalk, which I think aligns with what is for the high school and some of the other sidewalks. But and it got into some practical issues in how much room is there. And then when you go up and look, there's one of the light stands, I say light stand, light post or whatever, is actually still having to get moved with the 6-foot sidewalk. Okay. So they've been through, what I saw was the original, something similar to this. Then there was another one done. And then I think this is the last one that has been done. And what they're doing with this is they're trying to get to what everyone is in agreement with, the final for this middle to MDOT for their final approval. So I think what Kate is looking for is to just keep the board informed on where they're at in the process and what is, I'll just say, it looks like it's being agreed to by all the players as far as satisfying the MDOT portion of what you guys approved. But it does look different than what you physically approved because it has had some changes. Is that a valid?
Yeah, so you all approved a concept plan with the signed plans that had the sidewalk staying on the same side of the street where Lee Tire is. So the way that it has been sort of interpreted is this isn't an amendment to the plan because that was just a concept plan, but we would keep you informed and take note of any issues that anyone has with this current plan. And trying to keep a lot of different pieces moving and a lot of different people happy. And this is where we've landed right now. The Aroma Joes will need to submit this to MDOT to make sure that they agree that this meets the intent of their traffic movement permit. And they'll also have to detail impacts to Main Street because that's a state-owned road.
I think it looks fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think it's probably safer on that side, on the opposite side.
Yeah.
Probably a safer design.
I think that's among the concerns. And you can see here, this sort of curb is going to be a mountable concrete curb. So when that business, Lee Tire, still needs to bring in trucks, they're able to drive over it, but it will provide a little bit extra safety in that area.
You'll notice the way that intersection curves around was something that the town wanted to see in
Mhm.
that particular intersection. Because of the way it currently feeds in, it's a lot less safe than if they have the car that doesn't come square. And that's what that's trying to do.
Yeah, so this was back in the,
Safer end.
yeah, so there was Andrew back in 2020, I think, had a meeting with maybe you all and then the select board about using some town traffic impact fee money to help move this curb to be more of a 90-degree intersection instead of how it is today.
Now, isn't that building right there though, that's not Scarlet Cat.
That's Copper Kettle,
That's
yeah.
what you see right there.
Yeah, sorry, but yeah, Lee Tire uses this area here to park some of their trailers and drives around it. So we've tried to make sure to accommodate their business use as well.
I think it is safer being on this side of Second Street than opposed to Copper Kettle Lee Tire side. And as long as you have that curve around,
Especially when people
To-
back out of the lots.
still on that side of Second Street, it makes sense. For pedestrian access, so.
And the property owner on that side of Second Street is happy to have a sidewalk there, and there's an existing MDOT right of way
And the glass.
at the glass shop. Yeah, where the sidewalk will be.
Does that, so they're good, because that seems to cut off some of their driveway access for that sidewalk comes in. But they're good with that.
They are happy with it. What they said was that they don't like that people use that as a giant open driveway, and they would like a sidewalk there, so.
Yeah, and I wasn't even, I didn't know that happened. There was a second walk around specifically with the abutters.
And then across the street here, this is 104 Main. There's currently that kind of weird asphalt strip here. The way that, so we have plans for Dennis to build out a sidewalk here. That might not happen this year, but that will happen.
They're aligning for that.
So this will be aligned to meet a future sidewalk that goes in front of 104 Main.
On Main Street side.
Yeah,
Because all of the shaded sidewalk is all along Joe's. Right?
yeah.
And the 196 Main Street. What the concept plan had been different.
There were differences of opinion between the traffic engineers and MDOT.
Right.
I believe, and I don't remember all the details, but you're right, there were a difference of opinion. This is my understanding, because they've had a number of meetings with MDOT. This is what they all agreed to.
Keep the yield, is that to be signalized? At one point, there was talk of signalized.
I think that that's still in.
Yeah, that,
Right?
to my understanding, that is part of
I think
it.
the signal is part of the package.
Yes. And this, you know, this intersection, since it's a state road to a state road, we have less input on that.
So that's all basically MDOT and road trips. The traffic.
Right.
That kind of thing. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
That's okay.
Well, we won't say anything about how tall that building is either.
So, I mean, what, I think it looks good. I think the nice thing for covered hill, especially at the sidewalk. And with the 104 and those glass. Clean up the side of the street. Because it is,
That's a little more costly, I'll be honest, for, I'll just say everybody involved.
and the, would be good to know what are concept plans and what are plans when we sign these packages. I didn't realize it was a concept plan.
Yeah,
That was the landscape plan, a concept plan too?
so this is a, yeah. But yeah, that's something that this board could have another discussion about regarding existing landscaping. And, you know, the Roma Joe's plan had a note on it suggesting that those trees would stay, but we didn't make it a condition. So that's something that you all can think about with some future approvals, how we want to handle that.
I know we have in the past made that condition.
Yeah,
There's also a condition that says things will not change from the plan without coming to.
No, I.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So I think in regards to the landscaping, it's a discussion we should probably have about how to make that more explicit. Because I guess the way it was noted in the signed plan was arguable whether they were required to keep them. And yeah, with regards to the concept plan, I didn't bring the signed plans down here, but it did have a final sidewalk and it says concept plan, offsite mitigation concept plan on the bottom of it. And I wasn't here for that, so I only know it's in the minutes. But
Part of it is on us to be more observant.
and I think, you know, we will potentially have another project coming to you in a month or two that has a big traffic movement permit. So that's just something to be aware of as we move through the
We
approvals.
had sketched on a big project, where is that at? Is that the one?
That is the one I'm referring to.
And there are also a lot of trees that were.
This also applies to that, where there's some existing trees that are suggested to be kept. And I would think that we'd want to make a condition of that.
Yeah, we have the same type of situation on 196 with the two new buildings there. My concept was that those two buildings were going to leave a bunch of the vegetation that was already there beside 196.
Does anyone have that as a condition?
A big commercial building.
Yeah.
Initially, when it came to us, part of that was saying, then I think when we finally approved it, we had, they got the trees, at least the landscape plan, and street trees. And they were gonna leave the trees where they left them to our southern. But
Right,
again, it's.
we'll be more precise.
We need
More
more
precise,
precise.
so then look at the plans.
Yeah,
They just
And
signed
for
it.
that project, Larry, if you remind me, I can pull out the signed plans sometime.
Thank you.
All right, so it's 7:30, well, our next meeting Do we have anything?
Yes, August 11th, we will have a preliminary application review of the 715 Augusta Road subdivision, which you all saw a pre-app for a couple months ago. And then we have scheduled to do a recode workshop on the code cleanup portion of recode.
Okay, so I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second, okay, that's second. All in favor? Opposed?